Welcome to the Influencer Collective podcast, encouraging you to create fearlessly in order to propel your influence. Meghan is a blogger, entrepreneur, and mom of 6 living in Minnesota. On Instagram alone, she has an audience of over 90,000 followers. You can find her on Instagram at MeghanJoyToday. Thanks to Krista Realba on Instagram for listening. For a chance to be featured in next week's episode, make sure to subscribe, like this video, and leave a YouTube comment with your Instagram handle. Okay, so Meghan, can you tell us a little bit about who you are and what you do and what your community online is all about?
Yeah, absolutely. So my name is Meghan, and kind of going along with my Instagram handle, Meghan Joy Today, I love to share about finding the joy in ordinary moments and all about living for today and realizing that our ordinary is what's extraordinary.
That's really cool. So how did you start all of this? Why did you decide to start your blog and your Instagram and everything that you do?
Well, I would love to have like a short version of this story, so I'll do my best to explain it. Really, how it started is I was writing my book about living for today, and I was sending in my query letters to literary agents to represent me, and I got a good amount of feedback, and from a few of them I heard, it doesn't matter how good of a writer you are, if you don't have an audience and a platform to market your book to, there's just not much we can do for you. So I literally put aside my book writing. I haven't got back to it yet even. I put my book writing aside and I worked on building my platform. And I was just really focused in on that. I didn't really know what would become of it. So, I know a lot of people this day and age, they're very intentional that they want to be an influencer. I kind of fell into it, and then I saw how much I loved it. It fit in with our life. I just enjoyed the whole process and the connections and the communication, that it's something I'm so glad I fell into it, but I also then became very intentional in my growth in it. So it was all by accident how I started in it.
That's really cool. So, oh gosh, I had a question and I forgot it, but you said that, so you started it basically as a way to, because you wanted your book to be read and you wanted an audience to actually read your book. And that makes so much sense. I think having a platform online is so, I'm just going to move on. What am I saying? Okay, Catherine. I had a coffee. I'm a little all over the place. All right. So, who's your kind of main demographic and who consumes your content?
Well, I don't check my insights too often, but when I do, you get a very detailed view of what that looks like. So based off of that and just who I'm communicating with daily on Instagram and in messages and everything like that, women, and I would say I'm at like 89% women followers. That's my people, but I would stress that it's also, I do share a lot about motherhood, but just kind of womanhood in general, so I love when like teenage girls, they'll message me and they're excited about certain things and hearing certain things, and I love when the 50 and 60-year-old women are messaging me and we're connecting, because I just think we have that womanhood, together. So I've got a lot of different ages, mostly women, and I really, really, really love this about my followers, is that it is a very diverse group of women, and that is very meaningful to me.
That's awesome. So, tell us about some of the projects you're working on. I saw that you have presets that you have for sale. You work with Young Living, and you also do a couple of sponsorships. So I'm interested in kind of the different projects you're working on, and maybe talk about your favorite at the moment and what you're spending the most time working on.
Yeah, for sure. So with social media, I have my website and have Instagram, I have my blog and everything that I run through that. And so there's a lot of sponsored content sprinkled between those platforms. that I love to be able to do. And then I have my business with Young Living Essential Oils. So I have a team of over 1,000 people and families. And so I do a lot with building that and communicating with my team daily. And yeah, I just launched my presets with Lou and Marks, and they make amazing presets. It's how I kind of first started diving into Lightroom, actually, because I'd never edited on Lightroom before. And that was really cool to launch that, because I kind of had a specific idea in mind, because my children are mixed, and I would use all these editing tools and they would always turn orange. And so I was talking to Sarah Lou with Lou and Marks, and I was like, I really would love some presets that go well with mine, my husband, and my kids' skin tones. And she came up with a really great set, and we just launched that recently, and that was really, really exciting. And then I also have a few book projects in the works, some ebooks, some physical form, and I have really been enjoying that. And then I feel like my hands are all over the place, but I have been painting, a watercolor painting, and I've been selling my paintings. And that's been so fun and has been just this creative outlet for me. And so it's kind of always changing, but right now, I would say my favorite thing is painting. And I am just loving that time to sit down and paint and create something.
Where can I find the painting? Is that on Etsy?
Um, it's not. I honestly just started selling them on my Instagram stories. So like and I wasn't making copies or prints. It was like only the original one of a kind watercolor. And so there's only one of every single one. But then I was like, I don't think I can sustain this on my Instagram stories. So they're actually listed on my website. And so once it goes up and it's sold, then it's like forever gone. I don't have any prints yet, which I kind of like. It's like this original rare piece. So it's on my website because I have a marketplace on my website where I have a few fun little items for sale along with now my paintings.
Oh, cool. Yeah, I'm seeing that now. That's a lot going on. And so, how do you, so you're probably really good at time management.
I try.
Okay, so what are some opportunities you've gotten as a result of your online success that you don't think you necessarily would have experienced without having this online community?
I would say, I mean, pretty much all sponsored collaborations, those type of things. I mean, that's all solely based from my platform on social media. But I would say some of the really exciting things for me, particularly, has been experiences. You know, we went to the Lights Fest, where you like light those beautiful lanterns that you lift up into the sky. It's just absolutely magical. It's like a family tradition now. And just experiences where we get to go and do activities and things like that have been really, really fun part of it. I've gone on a few trips now, which has been really neat to connect in person with brands, and just being that face to face with people and really being able to deliver the kind of content that they're looking for. So the trips have been really fun. And then I would say speaking engagements. I really love getting in front of a group of people and speaking life into them, and sharing life through that process. And so I've been able to lead speaking events, be a part of panel discussions, and those are all things that I really enjoy doing. And so that's definitely some open doors because of social media and my platform.
That's so cool. So, what's the because I know we have a lot of people in the Instagram group or in the Facebook group that are struggling with trying to figure out how to make money using their platform. What's the biggest part of your business that makes maybe the most money?
Oh man, yeah, I feel like it's depending on the month. Um, But my Young Living business and social media, depending on the projects that I have going on, it will depend on that. And also, it was just depending on the season of life. As I was very intentional in growing my platform, I took on a lot more projects to be able to make that income and to be able to like grow in that area. And then now I'm at a point where I can be quite a bit more picky and choosy and really hone in on what I want to share. And, your rates change through the timing of that too. So that's always kind of looked different. And then with my Young Living business, that's always growing. And there'll be seasons where everything is kind of at a peak. And then seasons where it's a little lower, but it's always steadily growing. So those are my two main sources of income would be that network marketing business and then social media.
Very cool. So, how has your content changed since you started? What year did you start, first of all? And then how has it kind of evolved and changed to get where you've gotten today?
You know what? It's a really good question, and I'm like I need to look it up of when I like actively started. Okay, so I actively started building my Instagram in October of 2016. So just over a little, like, is that 2.5 years?
Yeah, that's not that long ago.
Yeah. Yeah, that's when I was like, that's when it changed, and I was like, okay, I have to invest into this. I want to, I want to make something of this. And now I forgot the second part of your question. What was it?
Oh no, I mean that kind of I was wondering how your content's changed over time. Have you always
Right.
had kind of the central message, or do you think you've kind of figured things out as you've gone along?
I think, when I first started Instagram, it was just like, oh, you pop pictures on here of your kids and stuff like that. That's all it was. And then I actually had a big weight loss journey that I experienced, and I shared a lot of that for a while. And that actually uh, produced actually a decent amount of growth through sharing my weight loss journey. And then it went into a lot more of sharing solely on my essential oil business. I was kind of honing in on that. And then that shift began when I needed to build my platform because I wanted to get my book out, and I wanted people to be able to read it and hear it and be a part of it. And so that's when I still get to share my life and my family and things like that, but it is put out there with a message of adding value to other people's lives and giving an encouraging word, and that's what most of what I share is based around.
All right, so you had some content changes over time. What's one thing that you think contributed the most to your success on Instagram? Did you have this turning point where you realized kind of the secret formula, the secret thing that no one tells you about that made you absolutely catapult into growth? How was that kind of, how did that kind of go?
I think 2 years ago you could pay $50 and you could get a guide that would literally lay out every single step you could do to grow your Instagram. And that is literally all out the window now because the algorithm has changed so much that it's just not that's not a realistic thing. Like there's not all these super tangible things that you can do to grow, and it's always changing and shifting. So I would say there was probably a time where I was like, yeah, I got this down, and I spent a lot of time doing all the things that I needed to do to grow it. And then now it's a lot of just being present, showing up every day, being consistent. For me, it is focused around adding value to my followers and giving them something to go with for the day. And a lot of it, I know it's different for everybody, but a lot of it is communicating and just being in relationship with people and giving a glimpse into life and connecting with them. And so much of my time is like even just responding to direct messages like that
I
is a
agree.
is
Yeah,
a lot of my time.
absolutely. Yeah, I think and it shows. I mean, you did something the other day where you had people submit their prayers, and I absolutely love that. But just seeing all the responses in your story and sharing every single, people were just submitting things that they were struggling with or going through that they wanted prayers about, and you would post it on the story and kind of respond back to them. And I thought that was a really cool way that you engaged with your community. Um,
Thank you. It was just on my heart to do, and I did not know that it would turn out how it did, and it had me in tears. These women were pouring their hearts out, and I was like, "Oh, should I repost these?" So I was like, "Yes." And there were so many people that were joining in prayer with it. It was so cool to just see God move in that, because I didn't want any part of it to be about me, but it was just really neat to see the response from so many people who joined in with that.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think it made it something that's like kind of beyond Instagram almost, where it's like you're really connecting with your community on another level. So I saw on another Instagram post that you put, you talked about the book called You Are Special, which I had to look up. It's a children's book, and it's about a wooden Wemmick, which I guess is like a doll or something. I don't really know. But it's about this character whose self-worth is entirely tied up in what other people say about him. And I thought that was so interesting because, and it kind of struck a chord with me because it's so similar to how people kind of get wrapped up in their social media presence and their numbers. And oh my gosh, like I need to grow in terms of numbers on my page. Like my self-worth is, super tied up in how many Instagram followers I have or how much engagement I get on this post. How do you stay out of that sort of mindset of feeling like your self-worth is tied up in this social media stuff?
I think that's why I had posted it that day, because I felt like I was getting too deep in it. And I needed to have that reminder for myself, and just this clarification of, what are we really here for? Why are we showing up in this space each day? What's the purpose of this? And I wanted it to just be worth so much more, because I wanted to know that all of my time invested into this wouldn't be wasted if Instagram was gone tomorrow. I wanted it to mean something. And so I've really been kind of checking myself with that. Like, what does this look like? And the truth is I love this space, and I love when I see the numbers rise, and when I see my growth. That's showing progress. That's showing something.
Right.
And obviously, when it's your job and you're making money, and that brands need to see those numbers, so I think it's this balance that we find. And for me, I didn't want to, in my mind, go to someone's Instagram page, see their high follower count, and be like, okay, you are valuable because you have a very high follower count. I just didn't, in my own heart, I didn't want to feel that way.
Right.
It just felt, it felt icky to me. And so, you'll have to read the book. It's so, so good. It's about stars and dots and how we put them on other people, and how it's a great book. But I think that a lot in my life, it's about being intentional with right where I'm at. So when I'm homeschooling my kids, I want to mentally be present in that time. And when I am with my husband and we're finally calming down for the night, I want to be mentally present right there with him. And when I'm working, I want to be present with my work. And so when I'm on Instagram, I want to be mentally present in that in a healthy way, so that I don't get wrapped up in that toxic mindset. Because I know that, there's these gray areas where I don't want to end up a certain way and look back and be like, wow, all of my time was spent there, but where's the fruit of all of that? And so for me, as in often most things in my life, it's really about being intentional. And so intentional with my time that I am investing into Instagram and everything that I'm building. And, when I'm seeing the numbers and when I'm seeing those things, that I just purposely don't get caught up in it. It is also helpful because I am not a numbers person at all. So for me, I'm like I'm not constantly checking my likes and comments. I realize that for most people who are building businesses on social media, that is very crucial. But for my own mental state, since I'm not a numbers person, it helps me in this area.
That's awesome. Yeah, I mean, I think one thing I always think about is, I mean, well, like my best friend doesn't have a million Instagram followers. My mom doesn't have a million Instagram followers, and those people are very important to me. And so it's like, why should I tie my own self-worth into things like that when I don't apply the same rules to everyone around me? You know, that's silly.
Yes.
So I think
Yeah.
that's all awesome. Okay, and so I think we've covered a lot. Thank you so much for talking to me today. I guess my last question is just about your plans for 2019 and when your book comes out and what your big plans are for the future.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for having me today. I just love stuff like this, and I love being able to get a peek into what you're doing. It is so cool. I literally could talk about Instagram all day, I feel like. I love the space. I love the people there. And so thank you for having me. So I would say my book stuff. My book stuff is all in the works for 2019, and I kind of hit 2019 real hard with a lot of big vision goals. And I'm reassessing my value system right now so that I make sure that I'm doing what I need to be doing in my life for my family and having a good balance with everything. And so I'm actually will be coming out with a book with my sister, and it is about how to grow a business with Young Living. And hopefully that's going to be out in the next month or so. And then I have a devotional with my daughter that I'm writing, and I'm hoping to get a marriage book out with my husband. Just not like not like a huge book, more like a ebook type thing. And I have a really fun project about balancing work and motherhood that I'm doing with one of my best friends. So I kind of have these big chunk book projects that I'm really excited to dive into and to share and to get out there. And so I kind of feel like that's all like first half of the year. So we'll see what second half of the year brings.
That's awesome. Okay, well, I will be on the lookout for all of those book projects. And thank you so much again for joining me. And thank you to our listeners for listening to this episode of the podcast. Tune in next week for more practical, actionable steps for growing on Instagram.